Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says that he is against holding talks with Russian leader Vladimir Putin, but he believes that it may be the only way to end the war. Now, peace talks have been stalled for weeks. The Kremlin claims Ukraine is at fault. It says Kyiv keeps making contradictory statements, and so it doesn't understand what the Ukrainian side wants. Mr. Zelenskyy, on the other hand, says Moscow has no interest in ending the conflict. He says all Russia wants is to deliver ultimatums. At the same time, the Ukrainian leader criticized the European Union for taking too long to ban Russian energy imports. He says that Ukrainians are dying as the EU fails to agree on sanctions. And Moscow's war engine receives more than $1 billion a day through the purchase of Russian energy resources.
Україна завжди буде незалежною державою, і її не зламати. Питання лише в тому, яку ціну доведеться заплатити нашому народу за свою свободу, а Росії за цю безглузду війну проти нас.
Meanwhile, Russian forces are making advances on the front lines. Kyiv has conceded to the fall of Lyman. That's a critical rail hub in the Donbas region. With the town under Russian control, the invaders can further isolate the key city of Severodonetsk. It's one of the few territories Ukraine still holds in the Luhansk region. A Ukrainian presidential advisor acknowledged the Russians' tenacity, saying there are talented commanders among the invaders and their tactics are improving. For more, Philip Crowther joins us live from Lviv in Ukraine. Philip, the last time that Ukraine and Russia held face-to-face talks, it was back in March. But since then, there have been these virtual negotiations, but still no tangible progress. So what's at the root of this lack of progress?
Well, look, peace talks are absolutely non-existent right now. They are stalled. At the start of this conflict, and essentially until about a month ago or so, there were still meetings at the start between Ukrainian and Russian delegations. This was happening in the border area between Ukraine and Belarus. Since then, virtual meetings, and now absolutely nothing. Ukraine insists now's not the time for any kind of talks with Russia. Ukraine also saying that it is not willing to cede any territory. It is not willing to see any kind of a ceasefire organized right now on its territory, because it simply believes that a ceasefire in the long run would simply lead to a new Russian offensive. What Russia, though, has said very clearly over the last few days is that it believes that Ukraine should simply accept the current reality. In other words, that Russia controls parts of the south of Ukraine, has established that land bridge it wanted between the occupied Donbas region and the annexed peninsula of Crimea. That was annexed in 2014. There, Russia has already achieved one of its goals, and it would also presumably want Ukraine pretty much straight away to accept that Russia also has control over the Donbas region. Those kind of proposals are going absolutely nowhere from the point of view of Kyiv. Instead, what we're seeing is an escalation and fierce fighting in the east of Ukraine, of course, and those demands from the Ukrainian government for heavy weapons to be shipped to that area from the likes of the United States and other NATO member countries as quickly as possible. But back to those peace talks, the last time, as you mentioned, that there had been face-to-face talks between Foreign Ministers Kuleba of Ukraine and Lavrov of Russia. That was in Turkey in March, and since then, well, basically nothing. Turkey, though, still believes that it can be the go-between, that it can organize any peace talks in the future. Turkey has good diplomatic relationships with both countries right now. One of the outliers, Turkey has, though, criticized Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And in terms of what is happening on the diplomatic front, there was also this idea, if you will, from Russia for there to be a corridor in the Black Sea for some of those foreign ships that are anchored in 6 Black Sea ports, for them to get out of there and to get that grain that is so needed by other parts of the world out of those ports. But that is something that Ukraine and other governments have said is not happening. Why? Because Russia wants sanctions relief in return.
Philip, thank you. Philip Crowther there in Lviv.